30 Shabbat, 5786, Tuesday, February 17th. Really, yeah, but nobody really fucking knows what day it is. Dog, I got something worked up for, what would I call it? I got something in a hopper? What's a hopper? Is that the fucking thing that they spin at, like, the NBA draft? Anyway, like a bingo hall? Hopper? I got something fucking ready for Israel. You're gonna shit yourselves, fuckers. In Haifa, they're gonna be squirting like fucking water bottles. In fucking Tel Aviv, those bitches are gonna be soppier than a fucking galosh. Bitches in Dimona, nobody even knows you fucking exist. Girls, you're gonna be re-irrigating the desert. Really? Oh, dog, this shit is so sick. Is it? It's tight, I think. It's a lot of fucking content. All right. Re-irrigating the desert or irrigating the desert? Baby, that bitch could have been wet as fuck at some point. All right. Come on, you got to read through all this bullshit. Really? I was thinking about it. I'm like, do I really like doing this? These are starting to get later and later. I'm not as excited to do them. But I shouldn't say that. I like doing them. I just had to fucking make this fucking shotgun effect of fucking music. Like, once these bitches are fucking programmed, it's over, baby. No one really knows for sure. Elu ve elu divrei Elokim chaim. But this is the Mazor we live by. I've been answering questions for people in the Jewish Guild too. Really? Yeah. On Zim. Really? Yeah. That's Kabbalah. Somebody was even writing a paper on it. Really? Yeah. That's how sick I am. Serendipity, baby. All right. Well, hey, Serendipity, why don't you fucking use those thumbs to fucking read that shit? All right, here we go. Bullshit. Zurich. I got 99 Zurich, but a bitch ain't one. Chillazone. Murex. Trunculus. Murex reminds me of Mucinex, which is that the little guy with is that Digger? The toenail guy with the fucking, who lifts up people's toenails like car hoods? Like frunks? Opposite of a trunk? What is it? No. That is, Digger is not Mucinex. Mucinex is for your like snorting coke. No, it's for like your fucking ear, nose, and throat. No, it's like for your fucking nasal passages. What's the Digger guy? I don't know. He's something else. We've got to look that up. That's really fucking important. Why? Because he has a different name in the UK. I know that. Toenail mascot Digger. What is this motherfucker's name? Digger the dermatophyte. Lamisil. Novartis. But he's known as something in the UK. He was in Family Guy. Oh, he peels back a human toenail like a car hood and crawls inside, declaring, "All I want is to get in here." Oh man, it fucking drives me nuts. All right, but in the UK, Lamisil, what is it? Mascot in the UK. He's got a different fucking. I mean, that's how deep this fucking shit. Freddy the Fungus in the UK. Yeah, fuck that. The motherfucker's name is Digger. All right. Well, Murex is not Lamisil. Murex needs a fucking guy. Somebody goes up your fucking nose and is like, I'm making a home in here. Anyway, Murex Trunculus. That shit sounds like a Pokemon, but that's that blue snail. Perhaps. Golus refers to the Jewish diaspora in exile, particularly the state of living outside the land of Israel. Chachma Bina Da'at. Wisdom, understanding, knowledge. That's Chabad, baby. Gay Kakin Afin Yam Lek Tizdayan. I gotta do that bullshit. May Hashem bless you and guard you. May Hashem shine his face upon you and be gracious to you. May Hashem lift his face to you and grant you peace. Really? Yeah. Akin ani medaber ivrit bekar ivrit mikra'it av shef befoal anaknu amurim ledaber Yiddish o ulait aramit shegam otan ani yakol ledaber bamida mezu yemet aval ani ma'adiv anglit lakin bo'u nedaber anglit Zenishma tov lecha. Indeed, I speak Hebrew, mainly biblical Hebrew, although in practice we are supposed to speak Yiddish or perhaps Aramaic, which I can also speak to some extent when I prefer English. Never let's speak English. Does that sound good to you? All right, that was a really cool story, Rabbi. Really? Oh, sick.
Parents, I'm with you. I put off getting life
Yo,
insurance.
nobody gives a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck. Dog, I don't give a fuck about your fucking survey. Skip that shit. Hava, Nagila Hava, Nagila Hava, Nagila Venismecha Hava, Nagila Hava, Nagila Hava, Nagila Venismecha Hava Neranena, Hava Neranena, Hava Neranena, Benismecha, Hava Neranena, Hava Neranena, Hava Neranena, Benismecha, Achim, Urachim, Belev Sameach, Urachim, Belev Sameach, Urachim, Belev Urachim, Belev Urachim, Urachim, Belev Hey, Hava, Nagila Hava, Nagila Hava, Nagila Venismecha, Hava, Nagila Hava, Nagila Hava, Nagila Venismecha, Hava Neranena, Hava Neranena, Hava Neranena, Venismecha, Hava Neranena, Hava Neranena, Hava Neranena, Venismecha. Hachim, Urachim, Belev Sameach, Urachim, Belev Sameach, Urachim, Belev Sameach, Urachim, Belev Sameach, Urachim, Oh, that was tight, Rabbi. Yeah, it was. I'm getting better at it. Really? Oh, I'm the best at it ever. You don't even know there's 69 verses of that shit, and one of them goes Hava Nagila Hava Nagila Hava Nagila. Yay, Israel. Yeah. Yeah, you don't even know that one. That's the 69th verse. Same as the first. Psych, bitch. It's different. Different. Why? Oh, it's different. What does Amachai mean? It's something so pleasurable it can bring back the dead, baby. That's what Robertson says before we stop. Halavai. That's what she wants to say. That is a I wish, if only. Yiddish cup, Jewish head. I'll get some Jewish head from your mom, dog. Calm down, dude. Yenta, that's a fucking talkative bitch. It's kind of a fetish of mine. Tackless, brass tacks, motherfucker. Nosh means to snack, like snacking on pussy. Snacking on pussy. Bashert, there's Basherta, which is a female soulmate. Basherta. Basherta is a female, is a male soulmate. Kind of reminds me of the word berserker, which is like a crazy dude out of the Vikings. Anyway, and then there's brass shirt, which is just like, I guess, a neutral soulmate. Mishmash, I was taking a bath. That's a mixture. Everybody knows bupkis, nothing. Everybody knows bupkis is nothing. Beans. The chaim, to life. Parv, neutral. Glat, kosher. Smooth, mensch. It's a good dude. It's also a female. I think you should be able to say mencha, but anyway, it's a female would be Aishit Khail and Zadukes Froy and Gittel, perhaps Oive. That's like, oh fuck. Stettel, that's a town. Streimel, that's a hat. Shadel, that's a fucking wig. Milchig, dairy, fleischig, meat, parv, neutral. Heimish or Hamish, that's homie. Shmata, that's rags. Schwiger, mother-in-law. Chazir, that's pig. Chazir is to repeat. Schlep is to like travel with a burden. Meshuga, that's wow, baby. Really? Yeah, Meshuga. Uh, Ganif, that's a thief. Yarmulka, Yarmulka, or it's a cab. It's this thing. It's also Kippa. Trafe means torn. Yard site. Today's yard site. What's yard site? Year time. Here we go, folks.
What does yahrzeit mean? Yahrzeit, literally, year time, is the Yiddish word for anniversary, referring specifically to the anniversary on the Hebrew calendar of the date of a person's passing. Observed from nightfall to nightfall, like all Jewish dates, the yahrzeit is a special time to remember the departed and do good deeds for the merit of the soul, which ascends higher in heaven on this date. How is the yahrzeit observed? In times gone by, people would fast on the date of the yahrzeit, but that practice is rare nowadays. On this day, make an effort to do mitzvahs in memory of the departed. This helps the soul ascend ever higher. The most common, but not the only, mitzvah is to lead the prayers and/or say Kaddish, a prayer of praise to GD, in memory of our loved one. Read why this prayer was chosen here. If you can use a little brushing up on the Aramaic words of the Kaddish, go here. Since scripture compares the soul to a flame, there is a time-honored custom to light a candle on the eve of the yahrzeit and allow it to burn for the next 24 hours. Long-lasting candles, called yahrzeit candles, can be purchased in the kosher aisle of many North American grocery stores, but any candle, besides those used for non-Jewish religious purposes, is really perfect.
It's
Read the reason
stores.
for this custom here. There is a custom to provide chicken, food, and spirits to be served after morning services on the date of the yahrzeit. Some people even sponsor a kiddush, a Shabbat morning reception, on a Shabbat either before or after the yahrzeit. Read why here. If possible, many people make the effort to visit the grave sites of their relatives on their yarzeits. Read about when to go and what to do in there. How to pronounce yahrzeit. There are many ways of spelling yahrzeit in English. The most common one, yahrzeit, really does not tell an English reader that the word should be pronounced your T-site, a cross between your type and your site. When someone wants to say that today is the anniversary of the passing of his grandmother, he might say, I have yahrzeit for my body today. How do you know when a yahrzeit is coming up? A yahrzeit follows the Hebrew calendar, so if you are in tune with the cycle of the Jewish holidays, it is simple enough. However, since the Jewish dates can drift away from their Gregorian counterparts by as much as a month before bouncing back, this can be challenging for some. The good news is that Shabbat.org's powerful yahrzeit calculator can figure out when you have yahrzeit, and even send you reminders every year.
Oh, that's tight, dude. Chabad shit's amazing. Really? Yeah. Doug, how much more shit do we have? Actually, not that much more. So that's tight. Okay, now we gotta watch those fucking cartoons. I mean, dude, it could be way worse, but these cartoons are awful. Really? They're so bad. All right, Shlomo, let's get your shit together. Are you proud of? Yeah, fuck yeah, we're proud to wear this shit. Oh, the NFL. Alan Weingrad, Shlomo.
I played for the Green Bay Packers and I played for the Dallas Cowboys, who I won a Super Bowl ring with. Over the years, I'd get together with my dad for weekly lunches, and he'd always tell me how proud he was of me when I played for the Packers, and how proud he was of me when I played for the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, where's your
Once
kippa?
one of our lunches, when he reached over and he said to me, I was so proud of you when you wore a Green Bay Packer helmet on your head. And I was so proud of you when you wore a Dallas Cowboy helmet on your head. But I've never been more proud of you than what you're wearing on your head today.
Oh, he's got one. I know, you couldn't even fucking see it. You can fucking see mine. Alright, well, that was cool. Psych, bitch, that was boring as fuck. Oh, if this is boring, I'm gonna be 44 minutes. Get the fuck out of here. Gotta watch these creepy fucking puppets.
Okay. Dear Rabbi Kaduzzi, could you please explain the importance of wearing a yarmulke? Maybe if you were to explain it, Jonathan would begin wearing one too. Inspired by Mendel F., 4 years old. You should know, by the way, that Jonathan does wear a kippah sometimes. Whenever he comes to synagogue, he wears one, and for some reason, whenever he eats bagels. As for the importance of wearing a yarmulke, I once did a television commercial for yarmulkes a few years back. Originally, it was supposed to be about some kosher breakfast cereal, I think, but I didn't really keep to the script. Here, I'll show it to you. Hey kids, try new fantastic kosher sugar-coated sugar cereal. Sugar-Rolls are tasty and Sugar-Rolls are yummy. Sugar-Rolls are crunchy and 50% fat-free. Sugar-Rolls have frosting, so wear it on your head. When you play ball, when you get in your bed. Wear a kippah on your head to help you keep in mind that even higher than your head there is a God that's strong and kind. Everywhere you go and everything you do, you can remember that God's always there and He'll always be at you. Wait a second, I think I was supposed to be doing a breakfast cereal commercial. Buy the cereal.
Dog, their content is garbage. Like, dog, you wanna. Okay, why do you breathe through your fucking mouth? Because I have a deviated septum, okay? Really, yeah. And I've had it before. I've had it fixed, and it's still not. They did a really good job of fixing it. I remember when I fucking did it, and I awoke. The doctor's like, breathe. I was like, damn. She's like, yeah, I cleaned out a lot of shit in there. But like, you know, any coke. Anyway, calm down, dog. Like, Colonel Jacob.
And very interesting.
This better be the best fucking story I've ever heard about wearing a kippah.
I had a very interesting story that happened to me personally, Ground Zero. The attack was on Tuesday, early Thursday morning. Tuesday and Wednesday it was hot. And the Ground Zero was covered like an ash. Total ash. The place was all ash. From the fire and the soot and smoke. And one of my chaplains who was not Jewish came over to me and hands me a yarmulke. Said this was handed to him by a rescue worker who found it as they were going through the rubble. And he was asking anybody, this is religious, this belongs to the Jewish people. And one of his soldiers, who's not Jewish, but knew what the yarmulke was, said, we have a chaplain, so they gave it to him. And then he brought it to me. So what do we do when you get a yarmulke? Yeah, you look at it. It could be from a chasana, bar mitzvah, a wedding, something, something of a family life cycle. And I looked at it, and inside it said the wedding reception of Terry and Jerry. Kind of was interesting, and then it gave the date. The date was the night before the attack. It's pretty spooky. I don't know, eerie. It was September 10th. There was some kind of wedding reception. So immediately I contacted the FBI there because they're on the ground. I said, I have this item, and I'd like to be able to put two and two together if we can. We tracked the yarmulke to the store that it came from because there was a stamp in there in the back. Some stores, better stores, we have a thing, and we got the name of the family. The wedding. The family had the wedding. We then asked the police or anybody that the family knows, have they heard, does anybody who attend this wedding missing? Or were they in the World Trade Center, the vicinity of the World Trade Center? Somebody had been in the building, could have been walking down the street during the attack, which happened to people. And eventually they came back to me and they said nobody. So I suspect it could have been on someone's desk. This yarmulke, somebody running through, fell out of his pocket. I have no idea. Off his head, and they just kept running. And I have the yarmulke somewhere in my.
Why didn't you show it?
Just kept running. And I have the yarmulke somewhere in my.
Oh, hey guys, I had a yarmulke. It was on the Titanic. Oh, can we see it? Oh, you want to see my fucking Titanic yarmulke? Get the fuck out of here. There's the door. Dog, can you imagine? Hey, we're from Chabad.org. We're gonna do this thing. We're gonna sit down. You can have a fucking picture of anything you want next to you. You can wear all your fucking medals and stuff. We're here for you to talk about a yarmulke that you found at Ground Zero. Okay, that's great. Hey everybody, I was at Ground Zero and I was jerking myself off around September 10th, 2001. And all of a sudden, the next day, somebody comes up to me. They're like, "Hey, you've seen this yarmulke?" And then I look inside, and it's fucking Terry and Jerry. And then we went to the fucking FBI, and we went to the police. We went to the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. All these motherfuckers are like, "Oh wow, that's incredible. Oh cool. Where's the fucking kippa? Oh, it's in my shit." Fucking Titanic kippas, yeah. Hey kids, I was on the fucking Titanic, and this motherfucker was like, I was like, "Hey, there's the fucking iceberg," and everybody's like, "Oh, go fuck yourself, Rabbi." And then I was like, but that might be fucking dangerous. And everybody was like, "Go pound sand." I was like, "But dude, it's a fucking." Anyway, I was like, "Iceberg right ahead," and they're like, "Shut the fuck up, Rabbi." And then all of a sudden I was like, all right. So like a few like hours go by, and all of a sudden I was like, "Told you so, bitch." And they're like, "Oh, hey Rabbi, as the fucking boat's going down, will you please take this one final kippa?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll take that, bitch." On the fucking, I didn't even need a lifeboat. I was just treading water for hours. Really? Yeah, people were like, "Look at that fucking Rabbi tread water." Anyway, then all of a sudden I was like, man, I had that fucking kippa. I was wearing double kippas. I was just like, "Oh, baby." And then all of a sudden, this fucking yacht came by because they were like, "Dude, we got to fucking pick up a rabbi." And then all of a sudden, I was like, I just climbed up like a fucking Somali pirate. And then I was like, "Oh, hey, everybody. Do you want to hear my story about this couple?" And they were like, "Oh, yeah, that'd be great, Rabbi." And then I told them the story. And then I'm here to tell you about it, but I don't have it. It's in my shit. Worst discussion ever. Hey, Titanic Rabbi. Calm down, kids. All right. Yarmulke. I hate how yarmulke. Really, I hate how it's spelled. Yarmulke. Worst name ever. Yo, Rabbi, this is the worst. I bet. Yeah. What did that have to do with Kabbalah? We'll get there.
Introduction. The basis of all precepts. Since the days of old, it was the Jewish custom to keep the head covered at all times. Thus, the skull cap became a familiar part of the Jew's attire. Generally, Jews take it for granted that the head should be covered when they find themselves in a holy place, such as the synagogue, or engaged in a sacred occupation, such as the study of the Torah, reciting of prayers, partaking of food one, and the like. Actually, there is not a time in the Jew's life when he is not in the presence of GD, nor is there any part of his life which is free from the service of GD. Shortly before Rabbi Joseph I Neerson, the Lubavitcher rabbi, of sainted memory, passed away, a question was submitted to him by a prominent Jewish gentleman regarding the significance of keeping the head covered. The rabbi's answer, later supplemented by his successor, the present Lubavitcher rabbi, Rabbi Menachem M. Schneerson, forms the basis of this brief explanation of the practice of covering the head. The rabbi of sainted memory prefaces his answer with a reference to the dictum in the Talmud. Why was the portion of Shema placed before the portion of, "And it shall come to pass, if you will diligently hearken," etc.? Because one should first accept the yoke of the reign of heaven, and then accept the yoke of the precepts. Irachith, First Mishnah, ch. 2. The words of the Mishnah are clear that the Jew's submission to GD's reign and his acceptance of the precepts must be in a manner and condition of a yoke, needing fundamentally no intellectual explanation, but only an acknowledgement that that is the decree of GD's will. To be sure, Jewish scholars, sages, and philosophers have written volumes on the meaning and significance of various mitzvot. But whatever intellectual reasons may be advanced to explain any particular mitzvah, they are really immaterial, and by no means do they represent all the real significance of the mitzvah, for the mitzvah is essentially a divine decree which is above reason. In practice, we see that those who observe the precepts, because they are GD's commands, decreed by his will, fulfill them faithfully at all times, and in all places, but those who would be guided by explanation often fall into error, for the human intellect is limited, while the precepts are given by GD, whose wisdom is infinite. The basis of all precepts. The prayer of Shema forms the central theme of our morning and evening prayers. The Shema consists of 3 chapters, taken from the Torah. In the first portion of the Shema, we proclaim the unity of GD and his sovereignty. He is one, the creator and Lord of the universe. At the same time, we profess our complete and absolute submission to GD's reign, with a love that is greater and stronger than anything we possess, including our very life. The second portion of the Shema speaks of GD's commands, the mitzvah. GD is the supreme judge, rewarding the fulfillment of his commands and warning about eventual retribution for their non-fulfillment. The third portion has been added for its mentioning of the mitzvah of tzitzis and the liberation from Egypt. The first 2 chapters of the Shema form the subject of our discussion. Our sages, as quoted in the rabbi's letter, observe that the order of the first 2 portions of Shema is not accidental, but is logical and purposeful. It tells us, first of all, that both in the case of our submission to the reign of heaven and our acceptance of the mitzvah, such submission and acceptance must be in a manner similar to a yoke. Secondly, that the first prerequisite of observing the precepts and practicing our religion is the acceptance of GD's sovereignty with absolute resignation and submission. In the presence of the Supreme Being, we must acknowledge our intellectual incompetence. This idea is conveyed in the expression of yoke. The analogy is not used to suggest a burden, far from it. It is used in the sense that the animal has no idea of what is behind its master's will. B. The animal's absolute submission. C. The yoke is the means of enabling the animal to fulfill its functions. Our faith is based upon the divine revelation and presentation of the Torah at Mount Sinai. We have accepted the Torah in the spirit of we will do understand, then we will understand Nas V'Nishma. The latter word, as also in the case of Shema, does not mean only hear or obey, but also understand. In other words, we have accepted the practice of our precepts as decrees from the Supreme Master of the universe in the full realization that our human intellect is limited and cannot grasp the infinite wisdom of GD. We do not know, nor can we know, the full effect of performing the mitzvah, what they do to us, and for us, and to the world around us. Any explanations or significances that may be advanced or attributed to any mitzvah must be considered as incidental and incomplete. The scientific method is first to establish the facts, and then to seek to explain them. If a satisfactory explanation is found, well and good. If not, the facts still remain valid, even if the secret of their origin has not been discovered. It is an established fact in Jewish life and experience that where the Jewish precepts, customs, and traditions have been observed with real submission to GD's wisdom and will in a spirit of humility and simple faith, these precepts, customs, and traditions have been preserved and perpetuated. But where they were not accepted in the spirit and became subject to intellectual scrutiny in a reckless search for explanation, and accepted because they appealed to reason or fancy, there the very foundations of Judaism were undermined. E.g., during the religious persecutions at the time of the Crusades, the Jews of Germany could not be forcibly converted. They died to sanctify GD's name, Al-Kiddush Hashem. In Spain, however, where the Inquisition brought to an end a golden era of philosophy and theological research, the religious persecutions led to comparatively numerous conversions. Moreover, our sages say, he who says this tradition is a fine one, and that one is not so good, discredits the Torah, and it will eventually become forgotten to him. Rashi, Eruvin 64. We must regard all laws with equal sanctity, for they were all given by the same lawgiver, and they all come from the same source. Covering the head has been strictly observed by all Jews too. It is stated in the Talmud that covering the head is associated with Yirut Shamayim, piety. The story is told of a boy who was a kleptomaniac by nature, but by virtue of keeping his head covered always, and being extra careful about it, his evil nature did not assert itself. However, when the wind once blew his headgear off, he immediately became the victim of his kleptomania. Tom. B. Sabbath 156b. One might find many symbolic inferences in the observance of the practice of covering the head, based on the above-mentioned statement of our sages that covering the head is associated with piety. For example, keeping the head covered shows and reminds us always that there is something above our heads, and the like. Such interpretations are useful only if, and insofar as, they help to preserve the precept, but must by no means be regarded as the reason for the precept. The basic principle in performing a mitzvah is the realization that it is the will and wisdom of GT that we perform it.
Cool story, bro.
A philosophical perspective. Headgear is part of man's general attire. It would be helpful first to consider the origin and significance of human attire in general, before discussing the question of covering the head. According to the opinion of many scientists, human attire is considered to have originated for two reasons: as a protection against climatic conditions, heat, cold, rain, etc., and subsequently also, b, for decorative purposes. On closer investigation, however, it would seem that the scientific view is highly questionable. Inasmuch as the cradle of the human race was in a place where climatic conditions were ideal, yet clothes were worn in these early days, the weather motive of attire does not hold good. According to the Torah, clothes had quite a different origin. We are informed by the Torah, Genesis chapter 3, that when the first human beings, Adam and Eve, were created, they did not require any clothes and were not ashamed, but after their sin with the tree of knowledge, they knew that they were naked, and prepared themselves clothes to cover their bodies. This radical change of outlook in the first human beings is explained by Maimonides' Guide, Part I, ch. 2. His explanation is quoted in Chabad literature, which throws further light on the subject. Briefly, it is this. Man was created all good without any evil in him. He had no evil inclinations, nor did he know any temptation for physical pleasures. Consequently, all organs and parts of the body were equal to him, each one having to play its part in carrying out man's divine mission on this earth. In his purity of mind, the feeling of shame was foreign to him. Just as there would be no reason for shame in teaching the Torah to someone, an act which is likened to begetting a child spiritually, so there would be no reason for shame in begetting a child physically, for here, too, man was fulfilling the divine command to be fruitful and multiply. In both cases, indulgence in physical pleasure was ruled out, there being but one consideration, the fulfillment of the divine will. After the sin with the tree of knowledge, there was born in man a consciousness of physical pleasure, of which he was not aware before when his spiritual self was absolutely predominant. Good was no longer purely good in his contaminated mind. He saw that certain parts of the body were more directly associated with the sense of physical pleasure. The exposition of those parts of the body now brought forth in him a feeling of shame on two counts. First of all, because these parts of the body were a reminder of the humiliating downfall of man into the power of lust, and secondly, because they were a source of temptation. For these reasons, man felt ashamed of his nakedness, and wished to cover his body. From this point of view, it would appear at first glance that the feeling of shame would certainly not apply to the head, the seat of the intellect, the highest possession of the human being, which distinguishes him from the lower species of animals. For is not the intellect the zenith of the entire creation? Indeed, the man who thinks that there is nothing higher in the universe than his intellect, would consider it a contradiction to cover his head, the seat of his intellect, his pride, and prized possession. However, the man who believes in GD has a different conception of man's status. We know that despite man's intellectual prowess, he is a very humble being. We realize that the intellect, unfortunately, far from getting us out of the mire of temptation, often is itself influenced by it, and acts as an accessory. Even he who does not belong to this category, nevertheless experiences shame by reason of the insignificance of even the intellect in the realm of the divine. Consequently, not only the lower parts of the body are witnesses of man's downfall, but even the head, which houses the intellect, and perhaps more so. I say more so, because the failure of the intellect is man's greatest failure. For while an immature child may not be fully responsible for his actions, the mature person has no excuse. So it is with regard to man's faculties themselves. The failure of the highest is the greatest failure. The more one is conscious of one's intellectual responsibility, the greater must be one's sense of shame at failing to fulfill it. Intellect and knowledge, far from giving the Jew a sense of pride, give him a sense of humility, for they have been given to him by GD for higher and sacred purposes. Insofar as he does not fully live up to these purposes, the average man must always be filled with a sense of shame. Even the righteous man cannot be free from a sense of shame, for, being more fully aware of the presence of GD, each intellectual step forward brings him closer to the realization how infinitely insignificant is his intellect in the presence of the infinite. For the culmination point of knowledge, in the knowledge of GD, is to realize that we do not know. Thus, our covering the head always is a demonstration of our awareness that there is something which is infinitely above our intellect and symbolizes our humility and sense of shame in the presence of GD, Yerd Shame.
All right, you want to hear a story? It has nothing to do with this. First thing, I don't use the phrase "in as much" in writing that much. I don't know why. Secondly, I think it's kind of it's. So I was talking about like my issues breathing, and um, man, when I was a little kid, like like if you ever saw the Brady Bunch with fucking Jan, and she like hits her in the fucking face, and then she's got like a swollen face. Like that happened all the time. I was always playing sports and shit, but there were 3 times plus another where I really got fucked up. It was always on my parents' anniversary. 3 years in a row, August 7th. And my mother, who would be like cooking steaks for my parents' anniversary, would always say to my dad, go outside with this motherfucker and play catch with him, and I'll call you when dinner's ready. So my father was watching golf. All right, you um, you got ball and mitt, and yeah. And here's a funny thing: I could never get my mitt like really broken in. My father would always be like, "You need a mitt," and I'd have his old mitt from like the 1950s. It seemed like it was old. It was fucking, but it was really broken in, and that was fine. But then it started to come apart when I really started to play with it. So I remember I got a fucking mitt, but I never broke it in enough, and so I couldn't. It was fine, but it was never like it should be. It was like, and anyway, so I think my father had his old mitt and I had my mitt, and we go into the backyard, and beer one, maybe dinner's like an hour away, and we're just doing this, having a good time, bonding with dad, and whoom, right in the fucking face, I'm seeing stars, and I'm bleeding, and I'm not crying because that's just, I mean, I don't know. But my eyes are certainly welled up. And my father's like, all right, well, it's the end of catch. So I go inside and, like wipe my nose, and it's all bloody and stuff. And so then my face was swollen for a few days and pretty much broken nose. All right, so year 2, same fucking day. 365 days a year, my mother was making dinner for my parents' anniversary. Says, why don't you now? Didn't they go out to dinner on their anniversary? Some years, yeah, but I mean, I just remember 3 fucking years, 3 summers in a row. My mother says to my father, "Oh, why don't you go on out and play catch?" And my father and I we played catch, but not like, hey, there's nothing to do, play catch. It was like just it was unique times, but we would play. There's no doubt about it. We would play. We'll take a time out here. I remember one time I was playing with my cousin. This I thought was interesting. We're playing football, and I was a little older than my cousin, and I could throw it a little better and harder. And um, my cousin was a little younger, and like here's how it happens with kids: you throw it like maybe at you know 50%, catch it. Then you throw it at 60%, catch it. Then you throw it 70%, catch it. And my cousin, who maybe the first few times was like flinching because the ball was coming at him pretty quickly. And again, he was younger than I was, and I probably shouldn't have thrown as hard. But then I remember getting yelled at or whatever, just discipline. Like, hey, you can't throw the ball that hard. Your cousin's not as old as you are, and you need to go a little easier on him. Oh, okay. And I remember this. I threw the ball, and I wasn't the last time purposefully doing it to be really, really to like to hurt him or anything like that. But he flinched or whatever. He goes inside, and I just remember waiting outside, and my father comes marching out. He goes, "Oh, you think you throw the ball pretty hard? That's your cousin? All right." So he takes the ball and chucks it at me, and I catch it, and I was like, "No way!" And he's like, "Give me the ball back." I'm like, "Oh, okay." He's boom, throws it again, and I fucking caught it again. Throw it back to him, boom. And I kept catching it, and he kept trying to throw it as hard as he could, and I kept catching it until finally, I don't know, something happened, and he was like, "There, now you know what it's like." I'm like, "Yeah, but I caught the ball quite a few times before I fucking dropped it." These hands, like fucking catching bricks like Jerry Rice. Anyway, so back to my parents' anniversary. It was August 7th every fucking year. And my father, year two. All right, he's got his glove, throwing the ball. Sometimes he would even, I think, catch the ball barehanded, but throwing the ball back to him. Boom, boom, boom. Year two, right in the fucking nose. And again, just cracked my fucking nose again. And bloody or fuck. And go. My mother's like, "What happened?" Like, I mean, if you play catch enough and you miss the ball, it's just eventually you're gonna fucking take one in the face. And I just happened to do it 2 years in a row. So, my family was never like, you just walk it off, whatever it was. Like, some families would be like, "Oh, we're gonna have uh like a I don't know, like a bag of ice." Like, I'd have to be like, "Hey, all the other kids, when they get hurt, they get a bag of ice." My parents would be like, "All right, fucking pussy, really?" It's just like, it'll be fine. But I'd put like ice on it to stop the swelling or whatever, and it would be fucking like broken again. I remember when I would eventually get my nose corrected. It, I remember them being like, "You have a double deviated septum." It like, so okay. So then the third year, my parents, it's their anniversary, and they're like, my mom's like, "Go play catch with, and I'll call you when dinner's ready." And your parents didn't go out to dinner again. They did. They might have gone out to dinner the night before, or whenever. But this was like, actually, it wasn't always on the same day. That's what it was. It wasn't always, because the day didn't always fall, but it was like a Sunday of their anniversary weekend. That's what it was usually. Really, yeah, because their anniversary might have been on a Tuesday or something like that, and so they might have gone out to dinner on Saturday night, and Sunday my mom's making like a steaks for whatever. And the reason why I recall this is, um, I just remember the smell. I remember it was a nice scene. You can imagine playing in a big backyard with your father, and your mom's got the grill. And would your dad grill? Yeah, he would grill too. Really? Yeah, under different conditions though. But my mom would sometimes grill it like inside, but that gets too smoky, so she'd grill outside. Anyway, and what would she grill? She'd grill the steaks, obviously, but I love grilled vegetables. She'd grill vegetables. Sometimes she'd make kebabs. That was a big thing with cherry tomatoes and green peppers, and sometimes like fruit, like pineapple or something. Really, yeah. But anyway, she was making steak. We'd have steak a lot growing up. It's like, it's my father's favorite food. It's my favorite food, perhaps. So anyway, year three, Dad and I throwing the ball right in the fucking nose. I'm seeing stars. My eyes are fucking watering. My father's like, and he wasn't throwing it hard or like trying to do it. It just so happened that if you play catch for enough time and you're catching the ball right in front of your face, that's how it is. So I kind of learned to like not catch it right in front of my face, but like kind of like by my head. Anyway, so a few years go by, more than a few years, but um, my dad and I are playing racquetball. It sounds like you played a lot of sports with your parents. My parents, no. My father, yes. Did your mom ever? I never saw my mom ever do anything athletic, ever. Really? Nothing. She said it was a waste of good shopping time. That was her thing. She liked to shop. My mom's a grade A shopper, but sports, that's just not her thing. Did she ever play any sports that you remember? Oh, well, I shouldn't say that. Okay, maybe play basketball a little bit. Not like, but she'd be like, I would like, we, I remember we got a hoop. That was a big deal. And maybe we'd play after dinner or something. My dad and I would play horse. But then were not, if my dad were not home, um, sometimes he had to travel for work or something like that. Maybe. But like, I'm talking like, I can count on my hand like how many times this happened. And it wasn't consistent. It was just like maybe for like a week or something. Anyway, did she ever play baseball? No. Really? No. Women's hands are different. They're like they have nails and stuff. They're not. It's not like a women's thing. I mean, it can be, but what about football? No, never. My mom never ever played football. Um, Volleyball? No. Soccer? Never. We'd play if we were gonna play something. We'd play like a board game. My mom and I. We'd play Scrabble. We'd play Monopoly. I remember getting Monopoly Junior, being pissed off that I got the junior version because I wanted the adult version, but that was big. What else would we play? Checkers, Chinese checkers. We'd play Chinese checkers all the time. That one we would play a lot. So my mom played board games with me. My dad played chess with me, but I had to play it like while he was watching some TV show. He'd be watching like Frasier, and we'd be playing chess. That was the other thing too. My parents had stuff, but they couldn't find it or whatever. They'd be like, I'd be like, Dad, I need a baseball glove. Can we get a baseball glove? Oh, I've got a baseball glove. We'll get you one. I remember I needed baseball shoes or something like that. And he got them, but like cleats. I remember learning how to clean them out with like tongue depressors. Like, well, not tongue depressor, but what is it? Popsicle sticks. That was big. Popsicle sticks are big. What else? Um, but it sounds like, as I say this, my parents were really involved in sports with me, or at least doing stuff with me. And I didn't have siblings, so somebody had to do something with me. But yeah. How about your grandparents? Did they ever play sports with you? Yeah, my grandfather and I played this game, and it was so much fun. Okay, so I didn't have a lot of. I mean, I say it like in comparison to some kids I knew, didn't have that many toys, but these kids had. I would see kids with tons of toys and things like that. I did not have that. And my grandparents, I had like this little corner for toys, but oh yeah, and I had this little ball, this little yellow and blue ball, and my grandfather and I would play catch with it, and I would do this thing where he would sit in his chair, and he'd throw this little plastic ball to me, and I'd catch it and jump on this furniture, and like make amazing catches, like the best catches that I could, and sometimes I would forget the ball or take it home or something, and I wouldn't have the ball there anymore. And so we would come up with like we wouldn't have anything. So he would take a rag and put a plastic bag around it and then put rubber bands around it. And then I would catch that. And it got me to be really good at catching things. Not, I would say I'm far better than most people at catching stuff. Like Jerry Rice catching bricks, baby. Anyway, so if you have good hand-eye coordination as a kid, you usually think you could avoid getting 3 broken noses annually when you're playing catch around your parents' anniversary. But anyway, so my dad and I were playing racquetball, and my dad played a lot of racquetball growing up. Um, Not every day, but he'd play weekly, uh, on and off whenever he could find people. And we were members of the racket club, and I always wanted to play tennis, but there was like, no, we don't play tennis. We play racquetball. It's faster. My dad would say it's faster and it's a better workout, and it is. But there are like two kinds of like tennis people are extremely wealthy people generally. They're doing their own thing. Racquetball players usually like not tennis people, but still the racket club. Anyway, so my dad and I were playing a racquetball, and for as much as I played racquetball in my life, I never got to be as good as I wanted to be. And I would get good against average people, and then I would play someone who was really good, and it was like, this isn't even the same fucking game. They were so good. They hit this fucking ball right in the corner. Like, what the fuck? I didn't even get a chance. Anyway, dad and I are playing, and I was about 18 years old or so, maybe 19. And we're playing, and um, I had my dad would always beat me until I got to a certain point where I learned how to hit this shot. It was this sky shot that he could not get to because he could never run really well. He had bad knees. Though he ran in like 5Ks and stuff, like when he was a younger man, and would play football and run in that. As he got older, he just wasn't able to run that well. He always said, "I'm not fast, but I'm quick," and that's true. He was really quick. That's why he liked racquetball, because if you have to run long distances, you're not going to be as good as if you're just have to run short distances, and that's why he preferred racquetball than tennis. Though he played tennis too. He was on his tennis team in high school. Anyway, that was another thing. I would say, Dad, I need a tennis racket. I want to go play with my friends at tennis. He gave me this old fucking tennis racket that was like wooden. Like, you want me to play with a fucking wooden tennis, like golf? I had wooden clubs. I didn't even have clubs until, fortunately, my uncle got me some. They just fell off a truck, kids. Really? That's I remember being like, where did you get these clubs? They just fell off a truck. I'd be like to my cousin, where did because he got the same set. My uncle, I love this man so much. He was really my dad's cousin, but he was my uncle to me. And his kids and I were like siblings. There. Anyway, he was always into cool stuff. They were members of the country club. They had he was like a very I don't know. They had Cadillacs and Lincolns and Thunderbirds and like all kinds of really cool cars. They had this van that was like a house. It was like so fancy. It had television in it that was so big. It had lighting. Like he was on the cutting edge of so much shit. He had a fucking chair that was like a massage chair that had a cooler in it. They had HBO. They had just cutting edge of it. He was a big Coca-Cola stock purchaser. I mean, like relatively, that always performed well for him. Anyway, so he got us these golf clubs, my cousins and me. He got us golf clubs, and I remember asking my cousin, "Where did your dad get these golf clubs?" And he was like, "He said they fell off a truck." Yeah. Anyway, um, I used those clubs for so long, and then I'll just tell this quick story. I always wanted a titanium. Titanium was so big in the mid '90s, like because there was the transition from wooden clubs to the metal clubs came about, but then titanium was supposed to be lighter, and as a young person, it's hard to swing a club, uh, So anyway, they had this one titanium club at the pro shop. My uncle could go to a pro shop and buy up the whole place. He'd buy hats, he'd buy golf bags, he'd buy clubs, he'd buy everything. And when I go there, we just got buckets of balls and we'd hit balls, but we never bought anything. And I sometimes you could test different clubs, and they have this one titanium club, and for like juniors, I was just moving from like child clubs to a little older. My dad was like, "You're gonna grow, and I'm not getting you clubs because you're gonna grow into adult clubs soon enough." But my little clubs were just not where they went, and so we were hitting balls. That's what we would do. My on a Sunday, my a lot of times my dad and my uncle would play golf, and my mom and my aunt and the children, we would go to the mall. That was like our day. And we when things were young, when we were young, and everything was wonderful, pre 9/11 days. Anyway, my but then at the in the evening, my we would like it just depended, but we were sometimes my cousins would they wouldn't normally they sometimes would spend the night, sometimes not, just depended. um and I will just say this: I was not um a joy of a kid with them, because I was very competitive, extremely, and they were just normal kids, and I wanted to compete in everything, and I wanted to be the best, and I wanted all the adults to know that I was the best. And they were just like normal kids. They were like, be like, calm down. Not everything is a competition. I remember they'd always say, not everything is a competition. Well, guess what? In 2026, baby, everything's a competition. But life is a competition. But I was always so competitive. I wanted to compete and compete and compete. And so anyway, we were at the driving range, and um, my dad and my uncle were hitting golf balls, and my cousin was looking at this titanium club, and it was a little too big for him. Uh, though he would eventually grow up to be really tall, but back then I was a little taller than he was, and my uncle asked the people at the front desk, like, "Hey, can we test drive this club?" And they're like, "Yeah." And my cousin's hitting it, and he's for as much money as my uncle spent at pro shops, I mean, huge amounts at all the pro shops. He was the worst golfer in the history of golf, and he's hilarious. He was hilarious. He, I've never known anybody to do this. He'd take 6 hours for a golf round. I mean, usually golf is like 3 hours or 4 hours maximum. He'd take 6 hours. He would, so let's say the tee time was at noon. He'd show up at 12:30 because he had to fucking comb his hair. This is a man who served in Vietnam and had an Armani suit. He was like a very unique individual, very, very funny. One of the funniest people. People will say, "Who is the funniest person in your family?" And it's to me like a lot of people of my friends never got a chance to meet my uncle, but he was the funniest motherfucker. He was so funny. It just he was so funny. Anyway, and the people think were funny in my family are like not in the top 5. This motherfucker was so funny. Really? Yeah. Anyway, so we go to the driving range. My uncle just hacking away, just terrible, terrible golfer. But he's got all the best fucking equipment. I mean, he's using Titleist balls, and he's got just the best equipment, and he's got just the nicest hat from the country club that he belongs to, and he's just terrible. And my dad, who was never an excellent golfer, just a moderate, decent, maybe just an average golfer, was always making fun of him for how badly he played golf, and just in a fun way. and my uncle would just not pay attention. He'd just be trying to he'd get this torch and then boom. Anyway, so my uncle asked the people at the front desk, "Can we try this like junior club?" And they're like, "Yeah." So my cousin was trying to hit it, and he took after his dad. Never a really good golfer, and then I was like, "Can I try it?" And my uncle was like, "Yeah, go ahead." And I fucking nailed this thing, and I hit it really well. And my uncle's saying to my dad, "Get him that club. Come on, it's not that expensive." I remember it was like, I don't know, $50 or something like that. And my uncle's like, "Get him that club." And my dad's like, "No, he's gonna just grow out of it." And I was hitting it really, really well. And I was like, I never want to take this club out of my hands. And eventually the evening would come, like we would play golf until the sun came down and at the driving range. And that was always, I think, going to the driving range was just a huge deal in our family. And my uncle, the Colonel of Rocca, he bought me that club. And I was so thrilled. I'll never forget. It's a titanium alloy on it, and I didn't know what an alloy was. And I would ask, "What's an alloy?" And I would be explained that it's like a mixture of metals, so it's not like pure titanium. But I was like, "That's fine. It's got the word titanium in it." And the fact that it had the word titanium in it was a placebo that I felt like I could play better. Did you ever hit that club well? Yeah, I did. I mean, I could have hit it better, but it was like I'll never forget that. Like my uncle, he bought me my first set of clubs, and he bought me that club. And well, he got the first set of club off they fell off a truck, kids. Really, yeah. Anyway, my uncle, he had a gas powered golf cart and an electric golf cart. He had multiple boats, and he had like cars that he was like storing. Like he had all kinds of shit. He had multiple properties, and at one time my family like basically owned this street. And my uncle, I mean, if you look at it today, you're like this, but back then it was a really nice. It was something. Anyway, my uncle, he was very advanced. I remember he had like a CD player in his car when like nobody had a CD player. Just really, but what they didn't have were computers. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. My uncle, when my dad found out my dad was getting a computer, my uncle said, "I want the same computer," and so they bought a computer. But he didn't really use it that much. But yeah, my uncle was really cool. Anyway, getting back to racquetball. So my dad and I were playing racquetball, and I'd have this sky shot, and he couldn't get to it. And he would tell me, "You can't do that shot." I'm like, "Why not?" He's like, "Because I can't get to it. And it's no fun if I can't play." I'm like, "Then get good, dog." Anyway, we were playing, and I hit this shot, and my dad went to go get it, and I turned around to see, and wham! Right on the bridge of my nose, my dad hit me with a fucking racket, and I'm bloodier than fuck, and he broke my nose. And I remember they like they like clean up the like racket. Like I remember, and I had a dance to go to that weekend. And fortunately, I was able to clean it up, so it just had like a little scar on my nose, a little bit. But I remember my date was like, "You broke your nose right before this." I'm like, "I know." Anyway, the first time though that I had any issue there, we were in Las Vegas visiting different aunt and uncle, and we were going to Disneyland. And was that when? No, actually, no. That was a different time. We were just at their house, and they had a table, and it was just like I just didn't know the area really well, and I hit my right here, and I had a scar there for the rest. I still have a scar there from it, and and I needed stitches. And when my grandparents found out about it, they were really like, "Why did they have a table like that?" It's like they had a table. I was a little kid. It happens. But anyway, so what does that have to do with wearing a kippah? I don't know. They showed that football player. Who knows? Anyway, that's the end of that story.
Some laws of covering the head. 1. One should not walk bareheaded a distance of 4 cubits. 1. 2. Nowadays there is an additional prohibition, not only to walk a short distance, but even to sit in the house bareheaded. 2. 3. It should be even worn during sleep at night. 3. 4. Small children should also be raised to cover their heads. 4. Footnotes. 1. Shulchan Aruch, or Jam. End of chapter 2. 2. Mogen David, Taz, one of the chief exponents of the Shulchan Aruch, and one of the Paskin acronym, last codifiers, Shulchan Aruch, or Jam, ch. 8. 3. 3. Shala, quoted in Mishnah Berurah, commenting on Shulchan Aruch, Ibid. 4. Mogen Abraham, one of the chief exponents of the Shulchan Aruch, and one of the Paskin acronym, Shulchan Aruch, or Jam, end of chapter 2. You may also be interested in.
Is that how you? I mean, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein says so long as you're inside, but you know, Chabad does their own thing. What would you say? Um, I've even had a thing like a clip that I put in my hair at points. Why? I don't really recall. I mean, why? Why? What kind of clip was it? I don't know. I've counted all kinds of things as a head covering. Just something like I've counted this. Where's that fucking this thing as a head covering? This fucking like telephone cord material, whatever. Um, but it's almost like I couldn't imagine walking outside without a head covering. I've used shit for head coverings. Like I'm especially if I go outside. Anyway, okay. Now let's watch this fucking family, and then we've got to review some Kabbalah. That's enough fucking sports talk. So what are we doing now? Jewish video. Worst shit ever. Dude, I will say this, and like I don't think I'm wrong. I think I'm the best person in the world at wearing a kippah, especially outside. Because some people will say, "Well, Rabbi, we see that in some of your older videos, you're not always wearing a kippah, or you're wearing another hat or something." They're like, "I know, but I want people to know that, you know, if you, not everybody's going to be as good." But I remember I had one behind my head, but it was like, I have my head like I would literally like wear my head raw. It was almost for Pakuan Nefesh, almost. But I was inside. If I'm outside, I mean, I've worn it. I don't want to go into it, but like I've worn it. I've worn a kippah in the most difficult of ways that I think you could ever wear a kippah. Really? Yeah. So I'll put. I mean, like I remember reading about rabbinical colleagues who would wear kippahs, or they wouldn't be allowed to wear kippah under certain circumstances, and it's like I could empathize if I were in that position. I would understand. Um, just a very important thing to me. So I mean, I've said it and I'll say it again. Mossad has fucking satellites that are watching the entire Earth, and they could take video of me, and I don't think anybody would beat me at wearing a kippah. At least, um, you know, like um, as a knowledgeable person. I really like. I would put myself. If you could like volunteer, who wears a kippah the best in the world? I would say not only do I do it to the point where I do it better than any rabbi in the county, but or in the state of California, or but in the world, like my life depends on it, because in many ways it has. Really, who knows? Anyway, but mezuzahs, I'm so good at kissing the mezuzah. Now, people will say, "We've seen you miss a mezuzah." Are you sure that that's a, like legitimate mezuzah for the doorway? And I mean, perhaps like I've gone into a place like, for instance, the Milky Way has a mezuzah, and you may not recognize it right when you go in. Like maybe you've got your mind on something else, but like I can tell you that mezuzah, or Pat's, or certainly of a shul though. But then I've been in shuls or things that represent shuls without mezuzim, um, because they're like temporary. But I can tell you, like I've lived in places where mezuzah, they had to like make an exception to the mezuzah, like to allow me to have it on the outside of my door, on my door frame, and they've told me that, and I'm like, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, but they're like, yeah, but we want everybody's area to look the same, and you had to make an exception for you. And I remember them saying that we treated it like if you had a disability. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks. I'm glad Judaism to use a disability, but anyway, and my mezuzah, I'm at least like you don't necessarily see, but I kiss that fucking thing 40 times a day. Really? Yeah. You're supposed to do it when you're going in, but I do it when you're going out. I'm super big on the mezuzah. Really? Yeah. And then the mechitza. I even remind rabbinical colleagues about the mechitza. I'm really big on those three things: kippot, mezuzim, and mechitzim. I'm really big on yarmulkes, mezuzahs, and mechitzas. Like, there's some people who are going to be like, I think that you should be better at this. Okay. But you're not going to find anybody who's better at kippot, kissing mezuzah, or the mechitza. Those are like my three. I'm giant on those. Anything else on which you're big? Some things. All right, what comes to mind? I'm not working on Shabbat. Some other stuff, like I've been really big. Have you been perfect? As I've been knowledgeable, I've done it as well as anybody could have done it. What about wearing tzitzit? I mean, like that's a big one. I've got tzitzit on the front of this thing, but I'm not wearing a four-corner garment. But when I do, I wear. I'm big about it. There are some people who are probably bigger, but no one's bigger than on the mechitza, the mezuzah, kissing the mezuzah, and kippot. Really? I mean, I would just sit here and be like, I have lots of stories about these on how I had to enforce these traditions on rabbinical colleagues. And these are some of the biggest rabbis. Oh, abortion. I don't want to say I'm the best expert on it, but I know it pretty well. Fortunately, not for my own sake, but just for study purposes. Like I know it better than many rabbis. Anything else? Havdalah. Oh yeah. I'm bigger on Havdalah than I think anybody on earth. You can have lighting Shabbat candles. That's cool. Havdalah is my shit, and I'm bigger on Havdalah than I am on Shabbat, on lighting Shabbat candles. I really am. And I feel we should be. I feel like Havdalah welcomes the week. I mean, the week is 6 days aside from Shabbat, but then there's Shabbat, but it gets you started. I'm so big on Havdalah. Ever since I've ever known that what, like, seeing people do Havdalah, I'm I don't miss Havdalah. Really? Have you ever missed Havdalah or Shabbat? Not in any way I could control. So what does that mean? Like I've been unconscious during the start of Shabbat. What can I do if I'm unconscious? Like I've been under surgery and had, some people may say, like a near death experience, which I think you probably could consider it, but where like the doctor had to drive me home. Like that doesn't happen under normal conditions ever. I've never known of that to happen ever. I've never known of a doctor in any after a surgery for anybody ever drive them home. Really? It's just, I've never known that. That's not like a thing. Anyway, so like I can't control that, or did you drive on Shabbat? I didn't drive, and I didn't ask anybody to drive. I was literally unconscious and very heavily drugged. Like I was unconscious. I mean, I don't know what you want me to do. I couldn't. I had so much blood loss that I was having extreme difficulty just walking. So it would be like I had a life-threatening Well, I had a life-threatening complications that happened during a surgery. If you have to be driven in a fucking ambulance because of that, then you do. I mean, it was similar to that. I had a medical professional who had to transport me. But I didn't use fucking electricity. Really? Everything was on timers. Anyway. But for how as extreme as that is, I'm still better at Abdallah. Really? Yeah. And I mean, I've been through a lot. Under normal conditions, my Havdalah setup is sick. Braided candle. I've got fucking Ashkenazi. How am I not remembering this? Bissamim. And I've used Sephardic Bissamim. What's the difference? Ashkenazi is like cinnamon. Sephardim is like a mixture of other shit too. Or Ashkenazi is cloves and shit, and Sephardim is cinnamon. What is it? Well, Havdalah means separation. Ashkenazi use cloves. Mizrahi aromatic plants. I would just say Ashkenazi. I've just seen cinnamon at points. Really, yeah, but I think it was just in homes that didn't have other things. So Ashkenazi, cinnamon and cloves. The choice is flexible, and any pleasant-smelling aromatic substance is acceptable. Sephardic is um, cinnamon, cloves, or other aromatic herbs. But they also have myrtle branches. I've used both. Throughout this, you'll see I've used just cinnamon, uh, or maybe cinnamon in combination with bismine. I think it's fine to have both. It's just supposed to be aromatic. Anyway, I'm really big on fucking Havdalah. Like, to the Rebetza note, I've been taught. I'm really big on mezuzahs, Havdalah, kippot. Mezuzahs, machitzas. Really? Yeah. What aren't you big on? You'll see. If I'm like tzitzit, if I'm not wearing a four-corner garment, I don't think I need to. And I think there's an argument that says I don't need to. I can wear it on my belt. Like, that's a big thing. What else? Nail cutting, order. I know there's a Kabbalistic way to do it, but if I have one nail that needs it more than others, I don't think you need to cut all the nails. Just like, but I even know people who are really from who don't do things the way that they're supposed to. You're supposed to like burn your fucking fingernails. They'll just put it in the toilet, and that's fine. It's like, is that true? I think some traditions have. It just depends on your tradition. Ash, Judaism burn your fingernails. Is that true? Yeah, chassid. Some would throw them away. Is a wicked person. So yeah, you are supposed to burn them. Which, like, do you? Barely anybody does it, but perhaps I do. Don't you chew them? I've gone through periods of time where I don't. I get manicures and things like that. But you'll see when this comes out, this is like survival mode. If I'm not in survival mode, I'm fucking as perfect as I can be. In traditional Jewish practice, yes, many people are careful about how they dispose of fingernail clippings, and one common custom is to burn them. The source of the is in the Talmud Bavli, Moed Katan 18a, which says, "One who burns nail clippings is called a chassid, a pious person. One who buries them is called a tzaddik, righteous person. One who throws them away is called a rasha, a wicked person." Why? Because of the concern that a pregnant woman might step on them, and it is believed this could cause harm, a kind of spiritual segula concern. So, do Jews have to burn them? Not strictly halakha, Jewish law. Halakhically, Jewish law. The main concern is that they should not be left somewhere people walk. Today, many authorities say wrapping them and throwing them in the garbage is fine. Flushing them is also common. I've known people who do that. Burning is considered an extra level of piety, not an obligation. So if someone doesn't burn their fingernails, they're not violating a prohibition. They're just not following the extra pious custom. All right, yeah, give me the Kabbalistic angle too. All right, the Kabbalistic discussion appears primarily in the Zohar and later works of the Isaac Luria, the Arizal. Uh, what are nails spiritually? In Kabbalah, the received mystical tradition, fingernails are considered external dead extensions of the body, symbolically associated with the realm of kelipot, husks, shells. The kelipot represent spiritual forces that conceal holiness. Hair and nails grow from excess life force, shefa, divine flow, that is pushed outward. Because they are the most external part of the body and have no sensation, they are seen as spiritually vulnerable once removed. Why burning? Why burning? The Arizal explains that once nails are cut, they become spiritually ownerless and can be a place where din, judgment, or external forces attach. Burning them symbolizes destroying the connection to the kilipot, sweetening judgment, hamtakat hadinim, imitation of or mitigation of judgments, preventing negative spiritual attachment. Fire in Kabbalah represents purification and elevation. Why the pregnant women issue? Pregnancy represents heightened life force and vulnerability. Kabbalistic tradition says that removed nails carry a trace of life energy that has fallen into the realm of separation. A pregnant woman stepping on them symbolically connects new life with discarded life force, which is considered spiritually dangerous. This is less about physical biology and more about metaphysical symbolism. Why burial is also good. Burial returns something to the earth, like restoring imbalance. Burning, total nullification, burial, containment, and rectification. Both prevent exposure. Modern practice. Most halakhic authorities today say the main issue is not leaving them exposed. Throwing them in a wrapped bag is sufficient. Burning is considered midat chassidut, an act of extra piety, not obligation. All right, so that's a cool story. Really? Yeah, these things aren't supposed to be that long. All right, so you're really big on Havdalah, yeah. Not so big on burning nails. Um, if I if I'm firing on all cylinders, yeah, then we're burning. Oh, I've even been so big on the mezuzah that in a situation where, like, I didn't own the home, I have put just Velcro there as just a symbol because if I need to put it on there, I can if needed, but I'd have it on my door. Really, yeah.
Hi, is this the Chabad house? We moved to a new home and we want to invite a rabbi to affix a mezuzah. You will come help us? Great. So we will order 5 mezuzot?
We have the main entrance, bedroom, 2 children's rooms, and balcony. 5.
Where don't you put it in the bathroom?
5.
It is found in every doorway of a Jewish home, anywhere in the world. This is our hallmark for thousands of years. It protects us.
So what are you saying? I mean, I've been in some rabbinical colleagues' house, and they have them in places that, like, I don't even consider this a fucking doorway, and I don't think that many people would. But because people have given them to them, they just put them up. So, like, it's almost decoration. Those ones are, yeah. But at the front of their door, I'm like, yeah, and why the fuck didn't you do it?
What I have in my hand,
I mean, like, I kiss it, and like, why the fuck didn't you kiss it?
is the case that protects the mezuzah. Inside there is a parchment upon which the scribe writes verses from the Torah with a quill and special ink that instruct us about the commandment of the mezuzah and the love of God. The mezuzah is affixed on the right-hand side of the doorway. When facing the entrance, we make sure that the mezuzah is facing upright with the letter Shin on the top, and then bless. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu likboa mezuzah.
Amen.
I thought the rabbi was supposed to do it. Call the Chabad house. Then this dude does it.
Every time that we enter or leave the home, we always put a hand on the mezuzah,
Really?
which reminds us that God
Yeah.
is always protecting us.
You don't kiss it? Yeah. It's like the play like a champion today thing, kids. For anyone out there who's like, it's like the play like a champion today thing. Really? Yeah. It's extremely. It's cool to do, but there's a fine line between it and superstition. I'm gonna be honest with you, but there's a fine line between superstition and a lot of religious things. So, really, yeah. All right. Now what? All right. Well, Enoch. We're gonna get in. Well, we're a little late to be getting into Enoch right now. Let's just ask for a summary. No, more than that. Give me an outline, please. Dog, this read aloud function sucks. Doesn't even work. Okay, 1 Enoch, Sefer Hanok, Book of Enoch, anonymously. Come on, dog.
One Enoch, Sefer Chanukh, Sefer Hanok, Book of Enoch. Author, anonymous Jewish apocalyptic writers, date 3rd to 1st century BCE. Outline, Book of the Watchers, Seers 1 to 36. Fallen angels, watchers, descend, Nephilim, giants, and spread of evil. Judgment of angels, Enoch's heavenly journeys. 2 Book of Parables, Similitudes, Kisa 3771. The Son of Man figure, final judgment, reward. Ward of the Righteous. 3. Astronomical book, 72 to 82, solar and lunar calendar, cosmic order revealed to Enoch. 4. Dream visions, sees 83 to 90, symbolic history of Israel, animal apocalypse vision. 5. Epistle of Enoch, Kissins 91 to 108, ethical exhortations, apocalypse of weeks, timeline of history, final judgment and resurrection themes.
I mean, that was pretty short.
Hapatu Enoch, Sefer Chanukh B, Sefer Hanok Bet, Slavonic Enoch. Author Hapatu Enoch, Sefer Chanukh B, Sefer Hanok Bet, Slavonic Enoch. Author, anonymous Jewish writer, likely Egyptian or Hellenistic Jewish context. Date, 1st century CE. Outline 1, Enoch's heavenly ascent, Kiss 1 to 20. Angels take Enoch through the 7 heavens. Vision of cosmic structure and angelic beings. 2, Revelation of creation, 21 to 33. Account of creation, fall of certain angels, secrets of the universe revealed. 3, Enoch's transformation, Sis 34 to 38. Enoch glorified and commissioned, given heavenly knowledge and authority. 4, Enoch's instructions to his sons, Sis 39 to 66. Ethical teachings, warnings of judgment, emphasis on repentance and righteousness. 5, Enoch's departure, Sis 67 to 73. Final blessings. Enoch taken permanently into heaven.
Dude, we gotta read this. This is fucking wild shit.
Now 3, Enoch, Sefer Chanukh Ger, Sefer Hanok Hebrew Enoch, Sefer Haikalot. Author, traditionally attributed to Rabbi Yishmael, historically anonymous, Merkava, divine chariot, mystic date 5th to 6th century CE. Outline 1, Rabbi Yishmael's ascent, guided through heavenly palaces, Haikalot, encounters angelic beings. 2, Enoch as Metatron, Enoch transformed into Metatron, Tapteron, given supreme angelic authority, described as the lesser Yahweh in a delegated sense. 3, structure of heaven, orders and hierarchies of angels, divine throne, Kisah Habud, Kisei Hakavod, throne of glory, cosmic secrets, divine names, measurements of the cosmos, mystical knowledge revealed. 5, judgment and praise, angelic liturgy, God's sovereignty and final judgment themes.
All right, that's enough of that shit. Really? Yeah. Anything else? No, I want to come up with some kind of machine to be able to burn your nails. What would it be? I don't know. Just like something that melts them or something. I don't know. I mean, there's just fire, but that can be dangerous. I don't know. Maybe something that you clip and then you just throw into a fire. Alright, I guess. Clip your nails. It's something that collects them. I don't know. And then you just throw into a fire. I don't know. We'll figure it out. You're fired. Go fuck yourself.